Good morning, everyone, and welcome to NYSE TV Live. I'm Kristen Scholler here in studio above the trading floor. Well, investors are awaiting the latest update on the artificial intelligence market as NVIDIA prepares to report earnings after the market closes today. That stock is the purest play in the AI space as its semiconductors or chips power large language models used by many of the largest tech companies. Now, the way that its shares trade will impact the broader market as it is the most richly valued company with a market capitalization of about $3.6 trillion. NVIDIA stock alone accounts for about 7% of the S&P 500. And with that, let's take a look at what is on tap in today's show. Well, in addition to NVIDIA, retail results continue to roll in with NYSE-listed companies like Target and TJX reporting. We'll follow the action live as it unfolds. Plus, retailer Boot Barn is set to celebrate the opening bell. Its outgoing and interim incoming CEOs will join me live on the trading floor after the market opens. And after I spoke with eToro's CEO earlier this week, one of its founders is going to join me today after the social investing site launched in New York yesterday. How Trump's presidency could impact the markets is in top focus, of course. And as we look forward to this day of trade, I do want to bring in my first guest, Joy Yang, Head of Product Management and Marketing at Market Vector Indexes. Joy, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Kristen.
All right, let's start by asking about what these NVIDIA results could tell us today.
Yeah, everybody's watching NVIDIA because it's becoming, as you said, the proxy for the AI story. So it not only has impact for the NVIDIA price, but for the whole semiconductor industry as well as markets overall. So we're watching NVIDIA, but as you also mentioned, the announcement comes after the market close. So more importantly, we're also going to be watching Bitcoin price because crypto markets trade in real time, 24/7. And the lesson we took away from last time is that, good news is not always good news. And we saw last quarter's earnings announcements came out and they were pretty good. They beat expectation, they beat guidance, and yet when the markets opened the next day, the stock price dropped 8%. So that was wiping out $200 billion in shareholders' value. So yes, we'll be following Bitcoin to see how it reacts in real time and how investors are thinking about the announcements.
Very insightful, Joy. Of course, we follow this on a quarterly basis. You follow it in depth. Any lessons that we would have learned from last quarter?
Yeah, so last quarter again is that there are both short-term and long-term players in this market, and they have different objectives. So, this is a very volatile stock. So there are short-term opportunities to trade around, but it's also a long-term AI story.
Yes.
And AI, is going to take investments in infrastructure, and that's what's happening now. So the productivity and the profitability that comes with it, it's still unknown. And we know this is a very complicated landscape.
Right.
Markets are competitive. So
Right.
as we see new players and disruptors come into the industry, who's going to be the winners? That's still also unknown.
Yeah, competition, I think, very important going forward. As we know, NVIDIA is the purest play in the market for AI right now. What about the future? What could it hold, and what is the current signal telling you?
Well, this is a company that's already up 200% year to date. How far can it go? And we've seen from history that stocks like Cisco, they can rise pretty far, but they can also fall pretty quickly.
Right.
So what we want to do is keep an eye on the theme. And for us, NVIDIA is in our fabless semiconductor index. So we're keeping an eye on these chip makers that are designing kind of the intelligence behind AI infrastructure. And there are companies like ARM in there, also up around 90% year to date.
Yeah.
And the other index we're looking at is our AI big data index, and we find companies like Palantir, and that company's up over 280% year to date.
It's interesting. So as we look at NVIDIA, as we look at the technology landscape as a whole, obviously many people are looking to NVIDIA's results to get a sense of what could be ahead. You mentioned volatility. What can we be sure of when this company reports?
Well, we can be sure it's going to be volatile.
Yeah.
It's already, and we've seen in the past few days, up 4%, down 3%. This is a company with 50% annualized volatility, so that's on par with Bitcoin. It can be up 50% over a year, but also down 50%. So we know that it's also more than just AI story. The semiconductor industry is very complex. It's globally integrated. And so we know that as Trump comes into office, and we know that he's going to have disruptions around trade policies, foreign policies, and views around our national security, that there's going to be a lot of volatility reflected into the semiconductor industry because of how globally connected it is.
It's interesting. We do see that investors seem to be optimistic, at least heading into the market open today. And these results, NVIDIA shares, last I checked pre-market, were higher, and we do see the major indexes fractionally higher today. I'm curious to dive a bit deeper, Joy, into your last point there as to how Trump's policies, his campaign promises, specifically when it comes to trade, could have an impact.
Well, we know he's made some very bold, campaign talks about, maybe 60% tariffs on China. And what we don't know is, this is meant to protect American industries, but what are the implications or the impact globally as, our global partners retaliate? But we know that one thing for sure is that geopolitical risk is heading up, and people are investing in defense, and we've seen defense securities go up in the last month, the last few days, and those are also good for semiconductors because they underlie most of the high-tech infrastructures that are required for all of these industries.
What else is on your radar, Joy?
Well, we're also watching Bitcoin. Yesterday,
Yes.
we saw the options around IBIT ETF launched, and we saw huge trading flows, 1 billion in one day. That's amazing. And also we've seen 1 billion flows into these ETFs over one day. That's amazing. So, this is kind of the opening of kind of the whole crypto asset industry for institutional, investment quality trading and volume.
Yeah, we've been watching crypto absolutely on a tear. We're going to talk a little bit more about that and dive deeper in the show in a few moments. Joy Yang, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining. Joy Yang in studio. She's the head of product management and marketing at Market Vector Indexes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are in the heart of these retail results, as I mentioned earlier, and up next, we'll take a closer look at that sector when we come back.
So, John, tell us a bit about the partnership you have with Santander and Openbank.
It's a Spanish man and it's a Spanish company. This is my only Spanish partnership. Santander has a long history with the game of golf and being a professional golfer. It's a true honor to be a part of it. And then, well, we're here at the New York Stock Exchange for the opening of the soft launch of a new online bank here in the U.S. being Openbank.
Now, John, when deciding which brands you partner with, what factors do you consider?
I try to get brands that represent me in some kind of way, right? And trying to, at least having the opportunity to partner with somebody from Spain, a family that grew up in northern Spain like myself, not the same city, but close enough, that has a close history with the game of golf. I thought it was a no-brainer, right? They've also been involved in other sports like Formula One and many others. I think that was an easy choice, right? But I think every brand I've had, I try to see what their expertise is, what their motto is, and what they portray to the world, right? And that's what I try to link myself with. So my image in itself, or what is the name John, is either uplifted by those brands or related to those brands, right? And I try to be picky. Luckily, I've been able to have some great partners to join with and keep on going on those ventures.
Now, Santander is growing in the U.S. market, which is a journey you yourself are familiar with. Do you see any parallels between your own experience in the U.S. and what Santander is doing today?
There is a difference when you're playing in different parts of the world. The golf courses are different, the setting is different, right? So to be as complete a player as you can be, you have to play in all different environments. And coming to the U.S. is a massive one, right? 3 of the 4 big majors are played in the U.S. All the big events are played in the U.S. So being able to come here.
Welcome back to NYSE TV Live, everyone. I'm Kristen Scholler here in studio. Well, earlier this morning, retail giant and NYSE-listed company Target reported its results. It was joined by Williams-Sonoma and TJX companies. Comes after a very strong report from Walmart yesterday morning. That company raising its guidance as shoppers showed a willingness to extend their purchases beyond the grocery aisles. Well, joining me now with more is Daryl Martin. He's the founder and CEO of Apex Trader Funding. Daryl, so good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you.
Yes.
Glad to be here.
We're happy to have you. So as we digest these retail results, what should our viewers know?
Well, obviously Walmart blew it out of the water. So, over 20% increase in online sales. Like you said, they went outside the shopping aisle. They went into apparel, they went into electronics and started spending more money. They saw an increase in sales, gross revenue on just average products, even though they had 4% deflation in cost. So less cost, but still made more money. So it's fantastic for Walmart. It's actually a good thing for Target because if retailers are willing to spend more money on the more expensive items, they're more likely to go to Target also.
Yeah.
Just being a little more expensive retailer.
Yeah.
TJ Maxx, it's been off and on. It's had some really good earnings and some not so good earnings and some surprises this past year. So that, and then we got Macy's coming up, but Walmart obviously leading the way should help carry everybody into a strong fourth quarter, and that should be solid.
Talk to me more about the state of the consumer, especially heading into the holidays. I feel like my inbox is inundated with holiday deals right now.
Yes.
What does that tell us about the consumer?
It tells us that the consumer, there's actually a survey that just went out that showed that consumers are willing to spend basically more money for their items this Christmas. And so that ought to tell us that the orders are going out and we're seeing the higher online sales happening at places like Walmart. Then we ought to see increased sales. That means people are feeling good.
Yeah.
They're feeling good about the economy. They're feeling, hey, I can actually spend some of my money. I was nervous about the elections, where they were going to go, what it was going to be. Wherever you landed on that, people are they're calming down.
Yeah.
And so there's a little less fear going on now. I mean, even companies had fear, right? So we have NVIDIA. We'll talk about that, whenever you're ready. But the company's not having the fear. The company's pushing it out, and the retailers feeling better about spending money. All leads to a good economy. So.
Certainly, and we see that in the GDP growth numbers.
Yes.
Hopefully, positive jobs numbers ahead as well after that. Impact, of course, from weather last month. I do want to talk about NVIDIA. You mentioned it. We've been covering it on the show. It's the most valuable company out there, right? 7% of the S&P 500.
And just had explosive growth.
Yes.
Like 185% over the last year.
What are your expectations for NVIDIA?
NVIDIA, I actually expect the results to be a little soft, as I think they were soft on their purchases due to not knowing where the electronics and everything was going. But their forward guidance, due to the new Blackwell chip, that is 2 times as fast as anything out there. It's going to revolutionize AI. It literally is the fastest chip out there, and there's massive pent-up demand for it. Ought to really give them a strong first quarter. That could be delayed because there's rumors. Now, it may just be rumors of some magazine trying to get some hits of the chip overclocking and overheating. But so if that's true, then we're looking more at April for that Blackwell chip to come out. But if not, if everything hits on target, then in January we're going to see that. They're going to be talking about that. Yeah. And that Blackwell chip by itself is going to raise the price value to $185.
Interesting. How would you describe the overall state of the AI market right now?
I think it's fantastic. I think companies are investing in it like crazy. They're doing really well. It's starting to hit. I'm seeing them on my phone now. AI apps coming up. Like where you can talk to an AI, which is sort of weird to me, but hey, each his own. But it's invading the marketplace, and it's getting to where it's an everyday thing. So people are going to accept it more, and there's a lot it can do for us. Yeah. So it can speed things up.
As the founder and CEO of Apex Trader Funding, I'm curious from your vantage point too, just in terms of overall trade action that you're seeing in the wake of that decisive election victory by incoming President Donald Trump.
We saw a massive uptick in trading volume. So, about 30 to 40% uptick.
And what does that signal? Does that signal conviction?
Yeah, it signals people are ready to risk money again in the market. They're convicted on which way the market's going to go. We saw yesterday I mean, it dipped and then like all day it just, went up, like the NASDAQ. So people they're really getting into the market. We're seeing new higher highs, and people they want to get in on the action, and they see that it's happening. And so we're seeing a lot of new people come in. They're wanting funding at Apex Trader Funding because they want to start trading and not risk their retirement accounts at the same time.
And do you expect that to be a steady inflow into this market?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's going to keep coming. I think we're going to see record trading volumes over the next year.
And what is fueling that? Just certainty or something else?
Well, there's a certainty, there's a calmness when one party controls everything. It doesn't matter, like I said, which way you go on that, but like if you have one party, there's less conflict, there's less confusion, there's less fighting. Obviously, the Republican Party is a party of deregulation, so that does help boost a lot of companies, which makes people want to get in on the companies, buy those companies.
Yeah.
And then the AI boom. We used to have the .com boom. Now we have the AI boom that is really starting to take off.
What does this mean for commodities like gold?
For gold, gold's going to be interesting because they're probably going to continue to lower interest rates, so which makes people go more into cash and less into gold. It devalues it just because the dollar. But I think it's still going to stay strong. I think it's still going to keep going up. If you want a big bold prediction, I think within the next 5 years we're going to see gold at $10,000. So. The government's got to keep spending, Now, that being said, we got Elon Musk, right? So he's going to start cutting everything on the planet. So depending on what he cuts, I mean, it may really change the value of the dollar based on how much we end up spending after he goes in with his new project. So.
Daryl, so it sounds like gold and Bitcoin can rise in tandem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and Bitcoin, I mean, making new highs. I'm just blown away at how high it is right now. Is it 95 the last time I checked? I mean, it's going to hit 100 any moment if it hasn't already. And I mean, it went from 60 when it got launched here on the CME, dropped down to 30, and then it literally just climbed all the way back up and past its previous high. And people are, I don't know why they're going into Bitcoin so much, but I think we're starting to see it be a more commonplace item, a less confusing item. People can get into the ETFs. That obviously is helping Bitcoin, because you have this massive inflow of money into an ETF that is buying Bitcoin, and that's going to just drive the price up.
Certainly. All right, Daryl Martin, he's the founder and CEO of Apex Trader Funding. Daryl, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
Great to have you. All right, well, stay with us because up next we will have more on the other side of this break.
Since we last talked, I know you have a major announcement. You just made the largest deal in the ASPM space. So talk to me.
Application Security Posture Management market, yes.
Yes. And I understand that it's with an NYSE listed company. We can't say the name.
Fortune 10.
Yes, Fortune 10 company. Tell me about this deal.
First and foremost, this is a deal that changes startups, okay? And we're super, super excited about it, and why they decided to partner with us for 3 years. Very large deal was technology that we developed. We actually helped them automate all their security risk assessment questionnaires, build a real-time software inventory, and prioritize, remediate, and prevent risks before they get to the cloud.
Let's talk about how Apiro recently launched the risk detection at the design phase. Can you talk to me more about this and how earlier detection in the software development of these kind of problems will help enhance the security outcome for businesses?
Based on NIST, the cost of fixing a defect at runtime when it reaches to the cloud, 100x more than in the design phase. So what we did, we developed our own private LLM model that scans every feature requests that gets into the development lifecycle. And automatically, we generate threat modeling, stories, mitigations before one line of code is written.
I do want to talk to you about a new product that I know that you are going to be unveiling soon. Can you tell me more about it?
I can't share all the details, but I will say the following. We're using the Apiro deep code analysis technology to identify our software architecture. The next phase is to visualize your software architecture in a very, very interesting way. It's like a living and breathing organism. It changes every day. So you need to visualize it to help developers write.
Welcome back to NYSE TV Live, everyone. I'm Kristen Scholler here in studio. Well, one of the biggest stories on Wall Street over the past 2 weeks has been the rise of crypto. Bitcoin was trading below 70,000 a token on election night and has since soared to above 90,000 apiece. Well, according to CoinDesk, Bitcoin briefly hit a record high above 94,000 on Tuesday as Wall Street rolled out a new feature, options trading on spot Bitcoin ETFs. Joining me now to talk Bitcoin and much more is Brandon Rajowski, Director of Product Management for Van Eck. Brandon, say your last name for me so I get it right on camera.
The old Polish name, Rajowski. Yeah.
So happy to have you. Thank you so
great to
much
be
for
here.
joining. And of course, the Bitcoin surge generating plenty of optimism among investors. I know, in fact, your CEO, Van Eck, recently said this, quote, "My basic premise is ultimately Bitcoin's value will be half of that of all the gold outstanding." So you're talking about something like 300,000 for Bitcoin. What are your thoughts on the industry at large?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the election outcome, it's basically a sea change in terms of policy support. So we've seen a lot of enthusiasm around the space, a lot more investor interest, and the market's evolving. So the ETFs came to market, and it attracted a ton of retail investor assets, and we're seeing more support, more liquidity added to the market with options, and we expect more institutional assets to follow, and this policy support is going to be a major tailwind for the industry.
I know your colleague, Matthew Siegel, recently said that the SEC will approve a Solana ETF for Van Eck before the end of the year. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, listen, Matthew and his research team are very excited about the new realities that the crypto markets are facing. I think there's a lot of possibilities on the horizon, and it could just be good for the crypto ecosystem as a whole. And he's very bullish on various types of digital assets, from Bitcoin as a store of value, kind of a digital gold, straight through to the various technologies that these protocols can be built upon.
Are there now correlations that can be made between what we see happening in the economy and the price of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, there's correlations that change pretty drastically over time with Bitcoin. It's a very, flexible asset. It has been in its infancy, so it's developing, it's maturing, and I think we're going to start to see, more of Bitcoin prices tied to different economic factors as more and more governments perhaps adopt Bitcoin as a reserve. And there's going to be a lot of developments in the space that I think we'll have to keep an eye on.
We see more funds being approved in this space across the world, notably in Europe. What does that lend itself in terms of the industry?
Yeah, it's growth. It's a growth story. We're in the early innings. I mean, we've seen some of these Bitcoin ETFs in the U.S. surpass the size of many of the largest gold ETFs that are out there in the market. So it's been really fascinating. I think it's going to expand that ecosystem, and ultimately the broader adoption of digital assets by the institutional community is really what's on that next frontier.
And I know spot Bitcoin ETFs finally approved in the U.S. earlier this year. I think that sort of jump-started a lot of the activity that we had seen, or bullishness at least, in the crypto space. And decisive victory by former President Trump, soon to be incoming President Trump, also giving this area a boost. What does the ETF expansion look like for Van Eck globally?
Listen, we were an early adopter, really, in digital assets. We were on the forefront trying to get a spot Bitcoin ETF approved in the marketplace. I think we're going to see different evolutions of these products. We had our Ether ETF approved and is in the market. We filed for a Solana ETF, of course, and that's what you referred to earlier. So expanded product availability, making this easier for investors to access digital assets within their brokerage account. I think that's important, because you see various exchanges and custody options that really kind of fall outside of some of the regulated financial industry.
So with the equity market near record highs, Bitcoin, I'm sure, at a record high as of this morning, what do you see the most uptick in demand across your products?
So the major trend that we've seen in terms of demand has been tied to a lot of these new technologies, whether it is crypto assets or even AI and the chip demand that we've seen, which is nuclear, believe it or not. So nuclear energy has been the top trending investment theme that we've seen over the last month or two, and that really ties to the demand for AI, the demand for power and data center electricity. And all these big tech companies have made major announcements partnering with both public utilities to try to secure electricity for all of the potential data center demand that they're going to see, as well as partnering and investing in really innovative next generation technology around small modular reactors, micro reactors. So we've seen this entire nuclear ecosystem, which for all intents and purposes sat dormant for the better part of 10 years, really be reinvigorated by this increased demand for power.
I want to hear more about how incoming President Trump's agenda could impact the market and the space that VanEck is in, specifically when it comes to the topic of the deficit.
Yeah, I mean that, our firm view, and we've been talking about this for a little while now, is that's essentially, the risk that's hiding in plain sight. I mean, deficit levels are very high, and with the expected expansion of deficit levels into next year with the new administration, we think that will become a major topic in the marketplace. It's really being overlooked, I think, because the markets in the U.S. are so strong right now. The markets are up. There's growth. Unemployment has stayed relatively low. So we're in this spot where these massive risks that are potentially going to be talked about in the future are not really being talked about right now. So I think that's going to be a major topic moving into 2025.
Brendan, so good to get your take. I hope you join us again here on NYSE TV Live. Of course, Brendan is the Director of Product Management for VanEck. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, Boot Barn is getting ready to ring that opening bell, and we will take you there after the break.
Brett, we're here at the New York Stock Exchange. You're here with the Startup Challenge by Snowflake.
Yes.
So tell me, what were your key takeaways from this competition, and how do you see these insights influencing Big Geo's journey forward?
It was incredible being down there for the Snowflake Startup Competition. It was really encouraging to see where they're going with their ecosystem, and what they're doing with native apps specifically is where we're kind of going to market with them. And the support network for me was the biggest takeaway. It was once we met with them and we were like, we're going to work together, it was just everybody piled in and we got the job done. So I was very encouraged, and I know Brent can speak for that as well. It was knowing that we picked the right ecosystem to go to market with. Snowflake was that for us.
Now, Brent, the data center and cloud landscape is evolving rapidly. How does Big Geo's technology align with the future of data centers? And what role do you envision for your company in this transformation?
It's an incredible technology for the data center space. I mean, we're having these conversations on a daily basis with some of the world's largest hyperscalers. Our technology sits right up against, it's built on first principles solutions from the ground up to increase performance at the data center. So we're looking at this technology as a way to reduce the amount of electricity consumption for data centers when it comes to geospatial performance, which is vastly becoming or quickly becoming one of the largest computing workloads at the data centers. So it's a very important technology to align with our hyperscaler partners and give them save them on electricity so they can spend that on artificial intelligence. So,
all right, now, Brett, we're here at the New York Stock Exchange. You're on the trading floor.
It's awesome. I've seen all the movies.
Well, tell me, how does it feel to be here? And how does this experience align with Big Geo's goals and vision?
Well, first of all, it's great.
Good morning and welcome back to NYSE TV Live, everyone. I'm Kristen Scholler here in studio. And in just a few moments, NYSE listed Boot Barn is going to celebrate the opening bell and kick off today's session. The company is on hand to highlight a milestone. That's to welcome a new era. First, let's get to that milestone. Boot Barn is celebrating a decade as an NYSE-listed company. It operates stores with Western and work-related footwear, apparel, and accessories, has more than 420 stores across 46 U.S. states. Well, today, bell ringing also represents a changing of the guard for this company. CEO Jim Conroy, who rang the bell 10 years ago when the company first listed here at the NYSE, is officially stepping down from the position later this week. John Hazen, currently serving as Boot Barn's Chief Digital Officer, will take over as the company's interim chief executive. And I'll be speaking to both of these executives on the floor after this opening bell, which you are looking at here. This is a live look of the opening bell podium at the NYSE. Boot Barn is set to celebrate and open the markets. are off to the races. Boot Barn celebrating that opening bell here at the NYSE. And joining me now to talk more about these markets as we are officially open for trade is Joy Yang. She is the head of product management and marketing at Market Vector Indexes. Joy, great to have you back.
Thank you, Kristen.
All right, so as we start this trading day on Wednesday, I do want to dive a bit deeper into how we might see markets position themselves in the wake of the election results that we got. We're having more cabinet appointments now come forward by the Trump administration. What does that mean for stocks?
Yeah, so we're starting to see Trump appoint key members to his cabinets and positions. And, we know the American voters have voted for change the status quo. And it seems like he's delivering on that with some very bold appointments. And, it's going to disrupt, how healthcare is run, how our defense sector is run, how our innovation investments are run, and that's also sending a signal to our global allies as well as enemies. Year to date, we've seen our defense index up almost 40%. And it's not just US companies, it's also global companies. And I think as he sends the message that we're going to back off from supporting global allies, other countries are making investments back into their own national security. So global defense companies are going up overall. And one of the top securities in our global defense index is Palantir. And when Trump was elected, that stock has now been up 40% since election day. So amazing rise because it's kind of on this nexus of not only as a defense company, it's also an AI company, being in the AI data sector, and also a innovation company.
I remember Palantir's IPO here at the stock exchange just a few years ago. I also want to talk, Joy, about how our viewers, potential investors, should be considering looking at their own portfolios during this moment in time.
So definitely disruption is going to cause uncertainty. So markets don't like uncertainty. So we think investors should be diversified, whether it's, diversify around NVIDIA, broaden your views out to a broader semiconductor or even fabless semiconductor portfolio, but also, hedge your downside risk with alternative assets, whether that's gold or even Bitcoin. They're going to be assets that are not correlated with your main holdings, and that's important because we don't know what directions markets are going, and we know there's going to be a lot of volatility coming up.
I know you mentioned volatility when we spoke at the top of the show, and we've seen some choppiness of late. Of course, geopolitics, an element in that factor yesterday as well. People seem to be bullish on Bitcoin. I think that's a general consensus takeaway here. And another one of my guests whom I spoke with in between our segments also said that gold is an attractive investment too. Those were his words. Sounds like you agree with that.
We've seen really all-time highs in both Bitcoin and gold, and so it had a lot of momentum, and with momentum we expect some pullback, and we've seen that in gold recently. But going forward, we know with volatility that it's good to hedge with assets that aren't impacted by the same macro drivers as your main holdings. And we also say to people that there's more than just Bitcoin.
Yes.
Right. So there's thousands of other crypto tokens out there. So Bitcoin is a store of value and has both risk on and risk off characteristics. So that's interesting. But it's also an asset class that's evolving. So take a look at all the alternative options you have in this space.
How much does the Fed and the expectations still, the last I checked, that we will get a 1/4 percentage point rate cut in December factor into the way that you look at markets?
Well, I think that's still also for us never a 100% probability.
Right.
So markets are forward looking. So even though, we may expect it to be another rate cut, but we also know that there are other policies out there that may be inflationary. Inflation isn't at the 2% target that the Fed wants, and also the Fed leadership may change soon also.
Yeah. I did see, actually, I just checked, just a 55% chance now expectation among traders in the market that we get another quarter of a percentage point rate cut come December. Yesterday it had been about 60% or so. So I think it's fair to say at this point it is a bit of a coin toss based on how the Fed moves forward in the wake of the data that we are reviewing and, of course, those election results. Joy, I also want to get your quick take on earnings because by and large companies beating expectation, that usually is the case. How does corporate America look to you?
I think earnings, again, they're just one data point in time. So I think earnings will have some short-term volatility. And we've seen some great earnings announcements recently, but we're headed into a new presidency. We're heading into new geopolitical uncertainty. So I think it's always good to keep a long-term outlook as we get the earnings announcements.
Joy Yang, she's with me here. She's the head of product management and marketing at Market Vector Indexes. Joy, always a pleasure, and thanks for your insight.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, stay with me because after the break, I'm going to be joined on the floor of the stock exchange by today's bell ringers.
What you need is the commitment of all the employees that it's a priority, that we value culture, that it's a differentiator, that it helps us better support our partners and our customers. And I think all 20,000 people truly believe that. And so we're focused on it. But you have to be willing to change too.
Yeah.
And, that's always one of the challenging parts. When you think you have a great culture, it's easy to say, okay, let's just not break it.
Yeah.
But if you just say that, you say, let's just not break it, okay, then you're not evolving, right? And the world around us is changing every day. And you have to respond and react to that. And that means you have to do that for the business and respond to those external dynamics, but it means you have to do it for the culture as well.
Yeah.
We've been through a very difficult few years as a country, and that means that you need to support your employees differently given those circumstances. But I'll tell you, it's really important to listen to that cohort because their needs and the pressure that they're under is very different.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, we add a lot of value. And we add a lot of value to those partners, even outside of the credit program. Like we can actually help them on other topics, HR, finance, other things that we do where we have a more established process will help our partners. And we do that just in the spirit of partnership. But it means a lot to that group because they do have a totally different set of demands. And one of the things we did in the reorganization is we realized that a lot of what they need and a lot of what we needed to do to support our partners was common across industries. The customer experience has never been more important than it is right now. There is very little friction.
Together, we built something truly beautiful in the true iconic notion of what America is all about.
This is our task, this is our mission. We have a clear focus and we have the ability to be agile and innovate.
It takes years of dedication to get us to this milestone. It is all because of you.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. It is the only thing that ever has.
To be a woman leader, it's not so easy, but it's easy if the passion and the love is coming from your heart.
The New York Stock Exchange is the symbol of what America is all about. Potential of capitalism, the potential of an American dream.
The only way you can move a society forward is a true expression of freedom.
Welcome back to NYSE TV Live, everyone. I'm Kristen Scholler. Down here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, we are officially off to the races, and joining me now is Boot Barn. You saw them on the opening bell podium. We've got CEO Jim Conroy, along with Chief Digital Officer and incoming interim CEO John Hazen. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me, and we will start with you. What does today mean for you and your company?
Oh, it's just an incredible milestone. 10 years of phenomenal growth driven by a family of 11,000 people across the country. I'm just fortunate to be a part of it.
Jim, we're so happy to get that take from you. And John, I want to bring you in as well in terms of what the future looks like as the incoming interim chief executive.
Sure. Jim has built an amazing company, and it's going to be more of the same. We have 4 strategic initiatives, and we're going to stick to them.
What are those strategic initiatives?
Grow same-store sales, open new stores, omni-channel, and our exclusive brands, rather.
Jim, we've got these hats, which they look great, guys. I gotta say, I wish I had one. Is this a staple? Has it been a staple of the company?
Of course. It's almost 10% of sales, and it's also just the most iconic piece of Americana or the Western culture. So it's always great to bring a cowboy hat to a bull market.
I like that. That makes sense, right? Stock's right near record highs. We are definitely on brand with that. Jim, I'm just curious too, in terms of what you have built at Boot Barn over the years, what sticks out to you as the top factor for your customer base?
In terms of what I've built, all I was able to do really was assemble a phenomenal team, and that team put together just an incredible company. And we've, from a customer standpoint, I think everybody in the country really wants to have a little bit of cowboy in them. And our core customer, we always say, builds America, feeds America, and protects America. And it's that massive group of people that have become Boot Barn fanatics.
John, I want to hear more from you about the Boot Barn customer. Of course, you have a strong customer base now and looking to bring in new customers, I'm sure. Who is the customer for you?
We have our core customer, which is our work and Western customer, but beyond that, we have a new customer segment, just country. These are folks who maybe don't work on a ranch, don't ride horses, but they listen to country music. They wear a baseball cap. They drive an F-150, best-selling car in the country. And so those folks aren't your traditional Western customers, but they love this lifestyle and our company.
What's the price point on some of your products, like the iconic hat?
The hats can start, there's entry-level hats if someone's going to a festival, all the way up to hats that cost $5,000 to $6,000, depending on, with diamonds and felt. So the range can be from $100 to $6,000.
Amid this bull market, gentlemen, the hats, stocks near highs. I'm just curious in terms of what this does speak to about the culture of America.
I think the culture of America and Americana that we like to bring to all of our customers is just sort of stitched within the entire fabric of the United States. And we just are so fortunate to be a big part of what really makes America as strong as it is.
John, I hope you'll come back as the incoming interim chief executive, and maybe this time you'll bring me a hat. Good. I look forward to it. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Congratulations on your listing here at the New York Stock Exchange. All right. Well, amid this bull market, of course, that was Boot Barn. You just heard from them here live on the floor of the Stock Exchange. And we're going to talk some holidays. No one does holiday season festivities quite like we do in New York City, including at the Stock Exchange. And so stay with me to learn more about what you can expect in the Big Apple this holiday time of year and outside of the New York Stock Exchange.
So we're not following a cuisine, we're actually really leverage the culinary art form of churrasco, which is very traditional Southern Brazilian cuisine. We've been doing it for 45 years. So you're right, we only have 72 restaurants in America, but 96 globally. But our whole essence of our brand is about scaling the authentic culinary art form that we know our guests love around the world.
When it comes to cuisine, there's many different trends out there, right? Especially as people are more health conscious these days. So how are you keeping up with these trends, but still being true to your brand?
What we love about it is everything we serve is nutrient dense and good for you. So it's up to you and your diet on how you like to dine, but we've done that for 45 years. What's exciting is our innovation around that is even getting better. We've just rolled out whole brand Zeno seafood, so we're just now beginning the fresh seafood platform, and we're really excited about that.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to try it when you open up your new restaurant.
That's
just
right.
A block or two away?
That's right.
Yeah, talk to me about when that's going to be opening.
So we're opening by probably like middle of December, but it's World Trade Center. Really excited. So it's our second one in Manhattan. We have one in Midtown. It's 18,000 square foot. The one in the World Trade Center is ground level. It will be about 5,000 square foot, so really excited to open that. Can't wait to host you there.
Now, you've experienced significant growth in recent years. We talked about over 90 restaurants worldwide, over 70 here in the United States. What would you attribute your success to, and how do you think you're going to continue this momentum?
We scale our culture first by really investing in our people. A lot of training, because this is an art form that is unique to us. We're the category leader in it, and we are scaling it globally. So when you think about how to do it well, to keep the authenticity, we focus on our human capital pipeline first. Now we have visibility of 3 years of sites ahead of us because we have 3 years of people, I would say talent ready to do it.
Welcome back to NYSE TV Live, everyone. I'm Kristen Schuller, down here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Stocks are officially open for trade. And yesterday, social investing site eToro debuted here in New York. We covered it live on our program. This company, of course, boasts about 35 million plus users around the globe and announced, of course, that it has now obtained its New York license. Well, retail investors will be able to use eToro to trade in all sorts of asset classes like stocks, exchange-traded funds, as well as options. And in an exclusive interview yesterday on the show, CEO Yoni Asiya told me that this launch was a milestone for the company, adding that he is looking forward to eToro's continued growth across the country. Well, to continue this conversation, learn more about it and what it means for you, of course, I'm joined by my next guest. We are talking to Ronen Asiya. He is the eToro co-founder, joins me today, as well as managing partner at Team8 and co-founder of eToro, and Rafaqet Aminoch, managing partner at Team8. Thank you both so much for joining me. Ronen, we'll start with you in terms of the news. What does this launch in New York mean?
Well, it's a great opportunity for us to really grow the business and expand it into New York. The New York license is really the most important license that we could have got. So it's really a milestone, significantly, for trust of the brand and expanding the business here in New York, where it all started.
It is an impressive user base, to say the least, and we love talking about stocks and investing here at the New York Stock Exchange. I'm curious, too, in terms of what is on your radar and interest with Team8.
Team8 is a very, very unique venture group. We build companies and invest in companies. We are operating out of Tel Aviv and New York. We have a large platform of close to 100 people that co-build companies with our entrepreneurs, and we are here to work together with the founders and the ecosystem in this amazing city.
And of New York, of course, a great place to look and partner with potential investors going forward. What attracted you to work with eToro?
We have to...
Not something to cover right now. Let's go back to eToro in terms of what the focus is for you going forward in terms of growth plans.
Well, as I've said, we're constantly expanding our user base, both here and internationally. We're constantly adding more and more products. Recently added options to the platform, as well adding more digital assets and assets from, I think, equities from probably 26 different exchanges by now. So it's always adding more geographies, and on the other hand, adding more products. That's our expansion plan, basically.
And tell me more about what you're following in the space for Team8.
Ronen joined Team8 as a managing partner. He was the founder of eToro, and now he's part of Team8. And here we came here in order to build an ecosystem for Team8 in this place. Our investors are mainly US. Our companies are mainly US. We work with large banks, fintechs, payroll providers. So our main focus is the US and New York.
And in terms of what kind of trends you guys see happening right now, Ronen, let's hear from you more about the trends that you're interested in following.
So you can't talk about trends in tech and in fintech in specific without mentioning Gen AI, which has been all the buzz for the past about 2 years. I think specifically for financial services, there's a lot of opportunities, but also a lot of challenges. Regulatory clarity is still needed in the market, so people can adopt this new type of technology. And I think from a challenging perspective, the rise of how easy it is to create deep fakes using Gen AI will
definitely pose a new threat to the financial services industry, and that's why we at Teammate are very interested in preventing new types of scams and fraud when it comes to taking advantage of the human factor.
And I'm curious, in terms of future investments, what else is on your radar?
As Ronen said, we are very excited about Gen AI, and specifically about Gen AI and how it will take the banking sector and the finance sector forward. I would say that I think the credit the domain could be totally changed by Gen AI, by LLMs. And as I see it, it will be much more advanced with all the tools that we can build, co-pilots and others with LLMs, and then credit will become a much cheaper. Interest rates can go down. This is going to be huge, in my opinion.
Thank you both so much for joining me. We really appreciate it. Always good to talk about what is on our radar in the investment landscape. Thank you again. All right, let's take a live look down here on the floor of the trading floor to see what action is happening as stocks are officially open for trade. We're just about 20 minutes into the start. All right, time now for that holiday segment that we teased earlier, whether it's Santa waving to people from his sleigh at the end of the NYSE-listed Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade to the Christmas tree lighting here at the New York Stock Exchange. The holiday season boasts an array of memorable activities and sights around the city. Alyssa Schmid, VP of Communications at NYSE Tourism, joins me now. Alyssa, thank you so much for joining. And what is on your radar as we get ready to celebrate the holidays in the city?
Well, there's so much happening across all 5 boroughs, and we're already seeing the festivities beginning. But we recommend a lot of things, starting with the Thanksgiving Day Parade next Thursday. That will kick off at 8:30 a.m. from West 77th Street at Central Park. And as you said, it will end at Macy's with Santa officially kicking off the holiday season. There'll be many floats and balloons and performers, Broadway talent. So it's really going to be a great time and a great kickoff to the holiday season.
We are preparing for the NYSE tree lighting here at the New York Stock Exchange. A beautiful tree. We always do a major celebration December 4th this year. I'm sure you would recommend that to visitors coming to the city, right?
Yes, of course. Coming down here downtown, it's an amazing experience. The tree is beautiful here. And then also, I was actually traveling through the Oculus this morning, and they already have all of their holiday decor up. So like I said, a lot of it's already here, and it's a great time to start experiencing it.
In terms of ice skating, I've actually seen some advertisements for new rinks, one in Domino Park. I know there's the classic Central Park, Brooklyn Bridge as well. What do tourists need to know this time of year when it comes to ice skating?
There are many ice skating options depending on where you live, and as you mentioned, there is a new ice skating rink in Brooklyn. It's Roebling Rink, and that's under the Brooklyn Bridge, so you have the historic views of the bridge and the Manhattan skyline. And then there's classics like Central Park. There's the rink at Rockefeller Center. The tree lighting will take place on December 4th as well, actually, so the tree will be lit for people to go ice skate there then. There's also Bryant Park ice skating, so a ton of options for people and great views and different places to experience.
I love the Brooklyn Bridge area, especially this new rink, as you mentioned, because you can see the iconic trade tower in the background. I know holiday lights always are something that people love to see as well, and I would include myself in that this year as well. What are the best places to see those holiday lights?
There's so many. I mean, even across at Macy's Herald Square right now, they have the trees set up. Madison Square Garden. There's places for kids like the Bronx Zoo. They do a whole light display. So there's a lot of that across the city as well. And then on Fifth Avenue, they're doing their whole display this year. So a lot of great places to see festive lights.
Yes, indeed. And in terms of other activities, holiday windows, the train show, these are also classics. What can you tell us on that front?
The train show is something that is absolutely magnificent. I recommend going if you haven't been. It's at the New York Botanical Garden in the Bronx, and it's model trains and trolleys running through these natural materials that are representing iconic New York City structures like Yankee Stadium, the Brooklyn Bridge, the Statue of Liberty. It's really quite amazing. And you can also just experience the gardens while you're there, which are decorated. And then, as you said, there's so many window displays. Fifth Avenue celebrating its 200th anniversary this year, so there's a lot going on there. On December 8th, they'll have a kickoff party with no cars. And then there's amazing window displays. Saks will do a little bit different this year. They're going to have an elegant lighting just to showcase their architecture for their 100th year. And then Bloomingdale's, for example, they're doing a whole holiday theme to the movie Wicked that just came out, and of course the Broadway play as well. So there's a ton of different things to do. And Macy's, of course, go there for the iconic window displays, which are actually launching tomorrow.
What are price points that viewers can expect for some of these activities in the NYC area this holiday season? And any tips on how to save money while having fun?
So a lot of this stuff is free, like the window displays. There's actually an app called Place Chase too, and I believe it's $5, and you can actually take historic guided tours of these window displays. So that's an affordable way to experience as well. The price points vary a ton, from free to more high end for some more luxury experiences. But a way to save, not necessarily right now during this holiday season, but yesterday we launched Hotel Week, and that will run in January and February, offering 25% off of hotel rates, and that's at 120 hotels across the borough. So I think it could be a nice way to give the gift of New York City to loved ones this year, and book a rate at 25% off, and that's a great way to save in wintertime.
What about any tips for holiday stays at hotels? Anything people need to know on that front?
Book as soon as possible. We do definitely get very booked for the holidays. If you're looking for iconic, the Plaza Hotel is amazing. But we have so many hotels across the city that you can really find something for your liking. But I would book as soon as possible if you're looking to experience New York City during the holiday season.
Alyssa Schmidt, I hope you're going to join us for that tree lighting down here in front of the Stock Exchange. It'll be absolutely beautiful, of course, the Thursday after Thanksgiving. Alyssa, thank you so much. Yep, great to have you. That was Alyssa Schmidt. She's a VP of Communications at NYC Tourism. And let's cover the markets, because very much in focus, of course, today is NVIDIA results. That company reporting after the close, the most valuable company out there with a more than $3 trillion market cap, and certainly the biggest mover in the S&P 500. We'll keep our eyes on that as to how it relates to artificial intelligence. It is the purest play in the market for that. I'm going to take a look here up at the big board. We are just about flattish. Pause in that post-election surge that we saw. Investors taking a breather, of course, in the wake of record highs. I'm Kristen Scholler down here on the floor of the Stock Exchange. Thank you for watching. As always, we'll see you later.
In life, I'm reminded that it's not about the destination. It is truly about the journey.
It's my pleasure to greet you today from the center of the U.S. capital markets here at the New York Stock Exchange.
I want to just take a minute and not just talk to the people that are in the room, but I want to speak to the rest of the team around the globe. These are people that made this happen, and I know that there is no way we would be here if it wasn't for you.
Everyone at Flutter is proud to join such a distinguished list of companies on this great stock exchange.
Not many people get to do something big in this world, and we get to do something truly special.
This is such a wonderful place to both look back and look forward. Look how far we have come. I'm so optimistic about what lies ahead. It has been a privilege to be with you.